Hey, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a very special flight I took recently on board Singapore Airlines first class. Not only was I flying in the first class cabin of one of the world's best airlines, but I had the cabin entirely to myself. I was the only passenger. My flight was in May 2025 on board the Boeing 777-300ER from Singapore Changi Airport to Jakarta Soekarno-Hatta Airport. I'm going to be reviewing the lounge beforehand, the food and the drink on the flight itself, the amenities, the overall feel of the cabin, and of course Singapore Airlines' legendary good service. Our flight today from Singapore to Jakarta clocks in at 901 kilometers and takes just over an hour, making it not just Singapore Airlines' shortest first-class flight, but one of the shortest first-class flights in the world. Our journey today begins at Singapore Changi Airport Terminal 2, where we're going to be flying from. After clearing security, I decide to go check out the Singapore Airlines first-class lounge in this terminal, as I've not been into it before. Turn left after clearing security, and you will see a sign pointing to this escalator, which will take you up to the lounge floor. And when you reach the top, you will see the lounge directly ahead of you at the end of this corridor. I've reviewed this lounge fully in a separate video, which I've linked at the end of this one, so I'll only give you an overview now. In short, this is a very nicely appointed lounge and a pleasant place to spend a bit of time before your flight. They have some decent, albeit limited, food and drink, and even a chef station to make a few local dishes to order. As I would be eating on the plane, I only grabbed a small plate of food to try, but it was of a very nice quality. Ordinarily, instead of going here, I would have used the airside SkyTrain to get to Terminal 3, where the far superior Singapore Airlines private room is located. Again, there's a separate full video to this linked at the end of this one, but in short, it has far better food and drink options and a much nicer vibe to it. However, I didn't have time to visit today. My flight was departing at 6:20 in the morning, so I only visited the Terminal 2 lounge. Back to Terminal 2, I left the lounge and walked along the same corridor to get to my gate. Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, please subscribe. My flight today was departing from gate F58, which is about a 10-minute walk from the lounge. As you can see here, because it was 6 o'clock in the morning, the airport was understandably very quiet. When I arrived at the gate, I realised that I might have spent a little bit too long in the lounge, because it was absolutely deserted. Pretty much everyone had already boarded the plane. Today, I was sat in seat 1A, right at the front of the plane. Now, I didn't film the cabin in too much detail, because as I mentioned earlier, I was the only first-class passenger today, which meant it was just me in the cabin with about 3 other flight attendants, and I felt a little bit self-conscious filming with the flight attendants giving me so much attention. Fortunately, however, Singapore Airlines recently introduced a really cool feature on their website where you can explore a virtual cabin. Currently, this feature is only available for the Boeing 777-300ER. However, conveniently, that's exactly the plane I was flying on today. So let me show you the virtual version of the cabin. As you can see, it's laid out in a 1-2-1 configuration, and there is only a single row of first-class seats, meaning there will only ever be a maximum of 4 people in the cabin. The seats are incredibly spacious. Almost a little bit too wide at times. You fit into just the pleated area, giving you a large amount of room between you and the armrest. I used the pillow to support my arm at times. There's a large video screen in each seat, and there's plenty of room under the seat to store your bags. Overall, a beautifully designed cabin. Shame there's only 4 seats though. Anyway, back to the real thing. I ordered a double espresso and a sparkling water because it was so early in the morning, and I sat down into my seat and had a chat with a friendly crew about my flight. One thing you will note here is that there are no overhead storage compartments in this cabin. This creates an open and airy feel, and instead there is plenty of room to store your bags under the footrest. It was at this point that the doors closed and I realised I was the only passenger in this cabin at the time. This is the first time I've had a Singapore Airlines first class compartment entirely to myself, and it was so cool. Despite having only one passenger, Singapore Airlines still put on a full roster of 3 flight attendants for this cabin. I had a little look around the seat and saw that each seat comes with its own storage compartment that has a USB-A style charger. It has manual buttons to adjust the seat or to call the flight attendants over, and there is a headphone socket and a personal reading light on each side of the seat, so you can decide which side you want to plug your headphones into. The in-flight entertainment is controlled via this digital remote control, which, as you can see here, shows the flight time to Jakarta at only 1 hour and 10 minutes. I'm very happy to report that post-COVID, Singapore Airlines has returned to paper menus. I'm so sorry for the low light in this video. I was trying to film the menu, but as I mentioned earlier, it was 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun was just rising. Despite it being a flight at just over 1 hour, Singapore Airlines operates a full bar on this flight, including crystal champagne. They also had numerous white wines and red wines and a port and a few other champagnes available. Not only did you have this impressive selection of wines to choose from, you could also choose from over 10 individually made cocktails, and they had some very high-end spirits, including single malt whiskey and Johnny Walker Blue Label. If you don't want to drink so early, they had a selection of mocktails and soft drinks that you could also order. Further, there was a huge selection of coffees to choose from, including Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee, which is considered by some to be the finest coffee in the world. Tea is provided by the TWG company, which is a high-end tea brand, and there was also an in-house tea selection you could choose from. Barely 10 minutes after boarding the plane, we began our pushback from the gate, and they played their iconic in-flight safety video, which I'll turn up the volume for.
As the safety equipment of this aircraft may differ from that of other aircraft, please give us your attention as we bring you through this important safety briefing and on a journey through Singapore. Where else in the world do we take you?
Taxiing to the gate took about 10 minutes, and before I knew it, we were on the runway, ready to take off. I'll speed this bit up so as not to bore you. We broke above the clouds and I saw the beautiful sunrise that was just happening. We were on our way to Jakarta for this incredibly short flight. I don't normally spend too much time filming this, but we had some truly stunning views out of the window as we reached our cruising altitude. The clouds were looking so beautiful and we were flying just above them with the sunset in the background. As we had barely an hour to serve a 3-course meal, the crew sprang into action with military efficiency and began serving the food. As this was a breakfast service, the first course was fruits and yogurt. This was a nice fruit bowl consisting of various chopped fruits, a mango yogurt, and of course a cup of that Blue Mountain coffee, which was really smooth. They also came round with a basket of pastries, from which I selected this apple Danish. This was baked beautifully and went great with the coffee. For my main course, I used the Book the Cook feature to order the speciality dish, the Wagyu beef yakiniku bowl. This consists of thin strips of Wagyu beef layered over rice and glazed in a sauce. It came with a delicious bowl of miso soup on the side. I've ordered this dish before, so I knew what to expect, but I was still blown away by how good it was. It uses real strips of Wagyu beef, and the flavour is incredible. It melts in your mouth. To have genuine Wagyu beef served on a plane, let alone on a 1-hour flight, is out of this world. Well done, Singapore Airlines, you really set the bar with this one. Having finished my meal, I popped into the toilets and saw that they were very nicely decorated with flowers. They were also a decent size with plenty of room to move around and had a baby changing tray if you're travelling with a small child. The toiletries are provided by Lalique and were of a very high quality. They even give you an aftershave to put on, which smelled delicious. The cabin also came with a fully stocked amenity tray that had things like toothbrushes, shavers, shaving creams, everything you could need. There are 2 toilets in the first cabin, which means at most there will be 2 passengers for each toilet. When I returned to my seat, the captain came on the speaker to announce that we were beginning our descent into Jakarta. I've got to take my hat off to the crew at this point. I was really impressed by how efficiently they handled everything. From the moment the wheels left the ground, to the point at which the captain came on to announce we were beginning our descent, with a full meal service in between, was less than 40 minutes. As we approached Jakarta, I got some great views of the North Jakarta region. I would visit this on my trip, but I didn't make a video about that. Let me speed up the landing, again, so as not to bore you. All in all, quite a smooth landing, and taxiing to the gate took about 10 minutes on this bright, sunny Jakarta's day. Being right at the front of the plane, and literally the only passenger in the cabin, I was naturally first off the plane. The walk to Jakarta immigration was not too long, and I was able to use the electronic gates upon arrival. The baggage area in Terminal 3 is beautifully decorated and a great first impression to the country. In no time at all, I was on my way to the city centre. Overall, this was a really great flight, and frankly, just about as good as it's possible to get for a 1-hour flight to anywhere. If you're looking to travel between Singapore and Jakarta, it doesn't get much better than this. The lounge beforehand is a very pleasant place to spend some time and serves good food. There'll only ever be a maximum of 3 other passengers in the cabin with you, and if you're lucky like I was today, you could be the only one. The crew do an absolutely phenomenal job managing to do a full hot meal service on such a short flight. And not just a basic snack either, we're talking proper food and multiple courses. Now, I know some of you might say that it's simply not worth it to do first class for such a short hop, that surely business or even economy is sufficient for a route of this length. And you know what? They would be absolutely right. This is completely unnecessary. I am well aware that this is just an indulgent luxury to do every now and again. That said, if you're looking to experience the Singapore Airlines first class experience, this is a great and very affordable way to do it relative to their longer routes. Let me know in the comments if you'd ever consider flying this on the 1-hour flight from Singapore to Jakarta.